Welcome. Thank you for joining us tonight for North Murray County High School's Senior Parent Night. My name is Tammy Watkins, and I am the new dual enrollment counselor here at North Murray High School, and we are so glad that you could join us. The other counselors will be coming up behind me, and we hope that you get a lot of information out of what we're bringing to you tonight, and always, if you have questions, you can call us. So we're going to get right into what I'm going to be talking about. I'm going to be talking more about the academic side, the graduation requirements, Val and Sal selection, honors. So I'm going to be hitting those hot spots for the year, your senior year, and then we'll carry on from there. All right.
Hey guys, it's Miss Boring, and I'm coming to you today to talk to you a little bit about what colleges are looking for.
Hey there, Mountaineers. I'm Kevin Young, and I'm here to tell you about the financial aid aspect of going to college.
Okay. All right, so we're going to begin with the end in mind, and what that means is our mindset right now is the road to graduation and beyond. So we'll get started with looking at the first slide. So graduation requirements. What does it take to graduate? They're seniors, so hopefully by now you and your student, your child know what they need to graduate. We're looking at 4 Englishes. 9th grade lit, American lit, they have to have, make sure they have those. And then the other 2, the state of Georgia allows them to pick and choose what they'd like. The math category, we've got to have 4 maths also. We have to have Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2, and the 4th math. We tend to like for our seniors who are more interested in a 4-year college to do pre-cal. We have college readiness math for those students who kind of thinking maybe college, career, sort of making that decision as they go. So there are other options, and you have your dual enrollment students who have already begun their track into college and are maybe picking up their 4th math through dual enrollment. Sciences, we're looking at, there are 3 that has to be that the state of Georgia decides for us, and that's okay. You can either have physical science or physics. You have to have biology, and then you have environmental science or chemistry. Most of the 4th science can be pretty much whatever the student chooses. For your seniors, for our seniors right now, currently ecology is the general 4th science. But if they are dual enrolled, they may have another science. But as long as they have environmental science or chemistry, they have biology, and then they have either physical science or physics, they're good to go, and they're 4th science of their choice. The next thing we're going to look at is social studies. Social studies is pretty cut and dry. You have world history, and then you have American government, U.S. history, and economics. So those are pretty simple. And as you look at maybe if you guys are looking on IC, or if you're wanting a transcript and you ask one of the counselors to print you a transcript so that you can see what your student has, and your student comes in and requests one. Just focus on those 4 academic areas and make sure that you are knowledgeable. You know, we want parents and students both to be, this is a team, this is a role that we all play together, and we want to make sure that not only we see it, but you see it too, because this is what the colleges are going to see. That's what they're going to see on the transcript when it's sent. So we want to also make sure that they have a personal fitness and a health. Those are graduation requirements. We tend to forget that sometimes. And we also need 3 additional electives. After they've completed a pathway, there are 3 different types of pathways that they can complete: academic, a CTAE pathway, or a world language pathway. And then in addition to that, we need those 3 additional electives, which total 23 minimum credits, which our students will have more than that, but that is the minimum required for that. So, all right, let's go on to our next slide. I'll give you a second. You can take a look at that. I'll step a little bit out of the way so you can get a good idea of Oh, and throw in there, I did mention the world languages being a pathway, but what I did not mention is that if you're going to a four-year school, world language is a requirement for a four-year school. So you want to be sure the language we offer here is Spanish 1 and 2, and that is a requirement for a four-year college, but not as a graduation requirement. North Murray High School classes that meet HOPE rigor requirements. Let me give you a little background on HOPE rigor requirements. What that actually means is to meet requirements to get the HOPE scholarship. You have to have four classes that the state of Georgia deems are rigorous enough to meet the expectations for post-secondary education. So the HOPE and Zell Miller, you have to have the four requirements. You can do, for North Murray High School, we have Algebra 2, and that's juniors and some seniors. That's one of the rigor requirements. Pre-calculus or college-ready math is also considered rigor. Chemistry, physics, not the physical science part, that's not a rigor class. Spanish 2, and any dual enrollment academic course. So what that means is if you are a dual enrollment student and it is an academic course, English, math, science, or social studies, those will meet the rigor requirements for HOPE. And along with that, you have your GPAs that you have to, the 3.7 for Zell Miller, and the 1200 SAT. That's going to be talked about a little further along, but you will see more about the HOPE and Zell Miller scholarship later. So, all right, grade point average. So this is very important. Every college is going to look at your students' grade point average when they get their transcript. Grade point averages are used for multiple things, and which Valental is one of those. College applications are another way that the GPA is very important. Scholarship applications, they're incredibly important for that. So again, I want to stress, when you look at your child's transcript, what you're going to be seeing is what the colleges are seeing. And we want to make sure that everything is correct and that you know what your child's GPA is. So for each course attempted, you earn a grade, for each class that you complete, you earn a credit. And that class score, that grade, is averaged in, and you take all of your academic classes together and your electives, and that becomes your grade point average. So unweighted GPA is calculated using the regular point scale only. So calculated regular GPA is every class together, you tally them up, you get the average, and that's going to be your GPA. And it also allows colleges to make apples to apples comparison, which that means that if you have an A in Algebra 2, then that A equates to a 4.0, and for a college a 4.0 is an A. So everything lines up. And if you'll take a look, I want to step back so you can see this. For a regular GPA where there's no weight added to anything, all that's been taken out, an A is worth 4 points, a B is worth 3 points, a C 2 points, and a D is worth 1 point. So that is what most of your students who have not taken honors, who have not taken a dual enrollment class, their regular GPA is going to be a total of their classes, and there you go. The weighted GPA, when you have a weighted GPA, there's something added to that grade that ups your score a little bit because of the rigor and the challenge of that course. It's intrinsic. AP courses, honor courses, dual enrollment courses, all of those are challenging, and so that is where that extra weight comes in. So if you'll look at that, you can see that there's a half a credit, there's a half a point difference between the regular GPA and your honors AP and dual enrollment. So for an honors AP dual enrollment, an A is worth 4.5 points. And then, honors is 4.5, a B is 3.5, a C is a 2.5, and a D is 1.5. When you look down at the dual enrollment and the AP courses, you notice that they're even a little more challenging because they are college level. And you have your A is worth 5 points, your B is 4 points, your C is 3 points, and your D is 2.0. There's that is one thing that you want to be sure that colleges know about. If you have had dual enrollment honors classes, those are definitely something you want to be sure that is included. They're also used as they're used at North Murray High School to determine rank, honors, scholars, grad status, valedictorian, salutatorian. So, and one little note that you need to look at is the Hope GPA is going to be a little different. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that later on in the presentation tonight. So here we go. This is how we calculate the scholar and honor graduate, valedictorian, salutatorian. So based on weight, cumulative GPA at end of first term senior year. So, and it includes in progress classes. So what that means is everything that your child has taken up until the end of their junior year, that's their GPA. That's where they're at. And then to calculate further, we take that first semester and the classes that they are currently in and getting graded on and a grade at 4, those are also included. So it's like it's continuous. So it just doesn't end at 11th grade. It continues on for the first semester just for this. So that gives everyone an opportunity to get these first grades also calculated in. For the valedictorian, that is the student with the highest GPA, and that's pretty cut and dry right there. So, and then the salutatorian is the student with the second highest GPA, and they must have completed entire senior year at North Murray High School. And so what that means is that unfortunately, if you have, if you've just moved in, say October the 5th, you wouldn't be able to be included in the valedictorian or salutatorian competition. But that doesn't mean that you wouldn't be able to have the GPA for a graduate or an honors grad. So the scholar graduate, the GPA has to be greater than a 4.0. So what that means is it has to be above the 4.0, 4.01. And then the honors grad, as you see that GPA is 3.5 to the 4.0. That's where the cutoff is. So, and it's a hard cutoff. And if your student has a 4.00000, they're still just an honor grad. If they have a 3.49999, it's not going to be rounded up. So unfortunately, those are the hard scores. Your scholars graduate is a 4.0. Your honor graduate is a GPA of a 3.5 to a 4.0. But finish strong. There's still time out there. Grades are being calculated. Students still have opportunities to work hard, get those grades up high. Long time till May, then a short time to May. But the second semester still matters. College can cancel acceptance letters. They can, if final grades tank, and that is just what colleges are looking for, is to see you begin strong. And also, even through the senioritis, even through the snow days, even through everything, you still are, you still have that drive to finish strong and be where you want to be in the next, 5 years and see what you want to be doing with life. But again, you have any questions, you can always call your counselor. And here is one little quick slide for the summer, fall. College visits. I've had several students to ask me about college visits, and you have up to 3 excused college visits. And so basically what that means is your child has 3 days that they can visit a college. They're tracked as field trips, as college visits, so they're not counted against them, but they only have 3. So make the most of those. Know the college application deadlines. So when your child is applying to several different colleges, then they need to know the deadline for each one of those, and always work on that priority deadline first, that closest deadline first, and just work through them. Volunteer. In this right now, in this time that we're in, where SAT scores may or may not be used for college acceptance, you got to stand out. What do you do differently than the person beside you who has the exact same GPA, who has taken the exact same classes? What makes you different? Volunteering, doing something different, doing something that makes you stand out, that not only helps you as a person, but also helps those around you. So register and study for the ACT and SAT. Even though some schools are not requiring students to have those test scores, that is going to give them an edge. That's going to give them another set of data for that college to use to see what kind of, holistically, to see what kind of student they're going to be getting in the future. Complete the FAFSA, submit scholarship apps. Let me just say one little thing about the FAFSA. There are deadlines for that. Again, we're going to get into that a little further, but you want to be sure that you fill out the FAFSA as soon as you can. There's lots of things connected to the FAFSA other than just it being an outlet for money. So compose personal essays and resumes, and you wonder why the personal essays, almost every college is going to ask you about, they're going to ask the student about themselves. Questions may be similar to which teacher influenced you the most? What event in your life caused you to want to do this? So they're going to try to find out a little bit more about your child through an essay, through a resume, through if they go for an interview to the college for the scholarship, whatever. It's good for your child and you to sit down. And sometimes we do not recognize our strengths, but if we can get those strengths and those special things that we did on paper, that gives us another edge. That just gives your student another edge. So keep a file with copies of college applications, scholarships applications, financial aid information, and recommendation letters. It is always good to have a paper copy, because what's going to happen is if a teacher writes a student a recommendation and they're like, here, take this, I'm going to give you this recommendation, you can use it for multiple things, I want you to keep it on hand. Your child can always get a copy of that, and they need it somewhere where they can get to it quickly. Maybe a deadline they've forgotten is coming up and they don't have time to run to the teacher and ask them to write them another recommendation by 3 o'clock. So it's really good to have all this stuff together and in one place. Organization. We're trying to teach them organization. But again, those are some things that to be thinking about, and you guys are going to get a lot of more information during the evening. So thank you. Now I'm going to pass it over to Miss Amy Chad.
Okay, let's talk about how to get to there. How do I get into college? First of all, typically colleges are going to want strong grades. They're looking at your cumulative GPA. They are wanting solid ACT and SAT scores. Some are during a grace period because of COVID, and so you aren't having to complete that due to some of the restrictions put into place, but it's always a good thing to go ahead and take your exams so you can get the best scores and scholarship opportunities. They also look at the different rigor that you take academically while you're in high school, so that's going to be challenging classes such as AP, dual enrollment, or any kind of college placement exams. Competitive colleges want the above and all. Involved activities, community service, work or internships, well-written essays and applications, positive recommendations. And to be involved in your community and to be involved in school-related sponsors and clubs, they are going to be something that is going to show that you have a well-rounded personality and that you have hobbies and interests that span more than just academics. So let's talk about the college application process. So you don't need to have all items ready at the moment of the application. Most application processes you can log in and submit your information as you go, and you can save where you're at, and then just make sure that you go back in to finalize it and submit before the college deadlines. Applications typically found among college websites and administration pages. You can see when the early applications are and when typically the scholarships and stuff are due on the university's websites. We're going to talk about the transcripts. So transcripts are needed to be sent to the universities, and you can do all this by going to the counseling webpage and submitting a request to Ms. Miles to go ahead and get your transcripts sent in for you so that they can go ahead and process your applications. So for dual enrollment students, you must also request transcripts directly from GNTC and Dalton State Community College for your colleges of interest. Let's talk about SAT and ACT scores. So they also need these. So you have to actually go on and order official score report through the testing websites on your SAT, ACT testing sites. For SAT, that would be College Board, and ACT, that's actstudent.org. Some colleges may also require essays and other recommendation letters. Be sure to get the recommendation request in at least 2 weeks before they are needed. And to see Ms. Miles, or go ahead and fill out a form on our counseling webpage that requests that needed. So college entrance exams. There are different approaches to the test design. On one test, they may show a student's strengths better than the others. So if you feel like you weren't able to do as well as you'd like on the SAT or ACT, go ahead and take the other one. You may do better on one than the other. So colleges generally accept scores from either test and consider your best scores. A lot of colleges and universities actually do something to where they take a super score and they will go ahead and take your best scores from each subject and add them together so that you are able to get your best scores in and you can show your best foot forward. So go ahead and make sure that you take the ACT and SAT starting your sophomore year, and that way you can take it as many times as needed and go ahead and work on your scores. Here's a recommendation though. Try at least each once and then retake whichever shows your strength the best. See a counselor for free waivers to go ahead and take this if you're on free and reduced lunch. Free individual preps available for each. There's tons of apps that you can download on your cell phones or electronic devices that will also help you. And there's also information and free test exams that are located both on College Board and ACT's website. Free individual preps are available for these, so take advantage. Tech community colleges commonly have other ones as well, and test options that are flexible and included with your free app. So make sure to go ahead and talk to them about applying for your free application and those fee waivers so that you're not out all the money if you don't have to spend it. See ACT dates and information handouts and or test publishers' websites, can't see it, for more information. And be sure to stop by the senior bulletin board that is located in the cafeteria area. And there's QR codes, and there's also QR codes that are outside the counseling front office to go ahead and directly take you to the SAT and the ACT websites, as well as recommendation letters and the counseling scholarship pages for easy access. Also, be sure to check out our new counseling website that is located on North Murray's school website page. Thank you.
Hey there, Mountaineers. Kevin Young again, and I'm butting in on Miss Boring's section about grabbing the admissions process by the horns to talk to the college-bound student athletes. I'm doing this, I'm kind of rounding out this section because I'm actually the counseling office's liaison for the college-bound student athlete and the NCAA and NAIA information. And so if you are looking at college athletics, keeping your athletic experience up past high school and into college, give me a holler. I will step you through more information than what's shown here. But just know in general, at some point in your college athletics recruitment process, you will need to set up an eligibility center profile. And which one you set up may depend on the college's actual affiliation, and so that can vary from college to college, and even within a college, some of their sports might be, for example, NCAA Division I and some Division II. So anyway, when in doubt, check their athletics page, even of the individual sport at the college, on their athletics pages to check their affiliation. And if it's NCAA, especially Division I or Division II, you'll want to set up a player profile at this address, or for NAIA, which is another common sports governing body, you'll want to set up a player profile at playnaia.org. Just don't forget when you do that a few things. First off, if you are on free or reduced lunch, talk to me. I have the accounts, the school's accounts for these two sports governing bodies, and I can actually go in and apply a fee waiver. There is a fee associated with registering on either of these, and I can waive that for you on my end of the portal. So talk to me if that applies to you, but also just in general. I do have some tasks I routinely take care of on these eligibility centers for each player profile, but I do that twice a year, and it's usually the beginning of the summer and the end of the summer. So if you're setting a profile up in the middle of the year at all, after say September and before May, then really come and let me know that you have set up a profile. These websites do not give me a notification automatically when I have a new player tagged to North Murray. From there, don't forget that admissions and athletics are separate processes. So even if the college is speaking in certainty that they want you to play for them, still take care of the admissions process. You have to apply and be accepted just like everybody else. So I'm going to address this more broadly here with a brief statement about the core credit requirements for these sports governing bodies and other ones. Generally, the higher bar that we can aim for is NCAA Division I. That tends to be the most stringent for core credit requirements. And so the nice thing is, though, by graduating from a Georgia public high school, you're good. Georgia public high schools have Georgia graduation requirements for high school actually exceeds, in many cases, the specific credit requirements by subject for NCAA Division I. And especially at North Murray, where we have where the curriculum we offer to meet those requirements also goes kind of a step above in some cases. The core credit requirements are not a concern if you are keeping on track for graduation and not really opting out of anything in particular that has an option to opt out. Now, these things do know that they are not accepted by the NCAA towards core credit count. That's credit recovery by this method in general of a computer-based delivery system without a real person on the other end. We use specifically Apex, but categorically that type of thing that we use for credit recovery is not something they'll count towards core credit requirements. Same goes for the same principles for testing out of credits or earning credit by exam or credit by EOC in Georgia's case. So for the very few of you that applies to, we've let you know that going into the process, so this is just a reminder. And college readiness math, that's not counted towards the core credit requirements or the core credit count, but don't panic, NCAA only requires 3 maths. And what did I say about Georgia high school graduation requirements? They typically exceed. This is one of those cases. Georgia requires 4. And so the other 3 you took leading up to college readiness math have you covered. Now, one other thing for those of you that this slide applies to, visit Miss Miles in the counseling office to complete an athletics transcript request form. That gives a broader permission for releasing your transcript to colleges that are in talks with you. That way you don't have to come down and fill out a regular transcript request form each and every time and for each and every college that seeks a closer look at you academically and athletically. So it's a lot less legwork and lets you use your legs for workouts and running plays. All right, so now we're getting in more in the bulk of my section about financial aid. So a lot of people tense up not when they're thinking about the going to college, but paying for college. And so we want to ease your mind a little bit tonight, or with this presentation, by going into financial aid details. So the 4 main categories of financial aid are federal, or the sources, you could say, if not categories: federal financial aid, state financial aid, the college's own financial aid, and independently sourced financial aid. Now, we're talking about federal first, but really the free application for federal student aid is key in unlocking not just free money from Uncle Sam, but also for getting Hope Scholarship or Zell Miller Scholarship. Instead of a separate application, your FAFSA will do the trick for Hope and Zell Miller. Also, for the college's own free money, which we'll talk about later, you need to have your FAFSA released to them, especially in the cases of needs-based financial aid, and they determine the need based on information provided on the FAFSA. So, anyway, the FAFSA is very important, and not just for federal resources, but for state and the college's own resources towards your higher education bill. So, FAFSA.gov, that's the place you want to go. You make sure it's a .gov. It might redirect you to studentaid.ed.gov or some such, but either way, if you're ending up on a .gov, great. If you Google, like a lot of people out there, Google their way to a website instead of just typing in the web address, you need to be careful about this, especially because there are imposters. And this is handling some sensitive information you don't want in the wrong hands. So FAFSA.gov. All right, so again, it gives access to needs-based grants and scholarships from Uncle Sam, as well as federal education loans. And in order to make any determinations of the below, your expected family contribution towards the college experience and the cost of attendance, kind of comparing those two, it needs your colleges of interest. That helps them know, because colleges, different ones cost different dollar amounts, they need to know which ones you're interested in. That's also the list of colleges that have your FAFSA information if they need it. So by adding them, it's pulling a kind of a twofer there. The FAFSA is also trying to determine your living situation, and mainly in the name of determining financial responsibility. Is it you yourself, the student, or is it you, the parent, that's is a parent or guardian primarily responsible for for the student's finances, or for the student financially? There we go. And depending on who claims that student on their taxes, be it the student or a greater household, that household's financial info and tax info is under consideration on the FAFSA. So again, that is taking a glimpse of your income, the demands on the income, and how many people in the house are college bound for the upcoming award year or academic year. That helps the FAFSA determine your expected family contribution, the amount that could reasonably be expected to come out of someone's pocket towards higher education, all things considered. And if the cost of attendance is drastically more, or just more, I should say, if it's more, then there are some free monies available from Uncle Sam from the federal level towards that. One of the main programs, one of the key programs, and certainly a heavy hitter, nearly $6,200 per academic year max, is the Pell Grant. And so a lot of our students in the area do have a level of financial need that qualifies them at least for a partial amount, but in many cases the full amount. And the great thing about grants and scholarships is typically you don't have to pay them back. It is a gift towards your financial, towards your higher education pursuits, and so that finances are not an obstacle. And there's also the Federal Work-Study Program. That's also needs-based, and it helps provide part-time jobs for college students by splitting the cost of that employee's wages with the college. So these are typically college students hired on a college campus. Could be for roles like teacher's assistant, resident assistant, a cafeteria worker, things like that, helping operate the campus. And by offering to pay part of that student's wages, it allows work-study students to be more attractive for hiring, more cost-effective for hiring on the campus. And as it is more cost-effective for the college to hire students who are work-study eligible, it also allows them to hire more of them. And so it's a great win for the college and the students alike. The FAFSA unlocks also federal education loans from Uncle Sam. And generally this is less dependent on financial need, because as it sounds like, loans, keyword, loans are something you have to pay back eventually. So another thing common with loans is interest. That's basically the cost of borrowing the money. And typically that compounds, keeps adding to, some portion keeps adding to the cost or the total that you have to pay back the longer you have that money out and borrowed. And so that's in the form of, that's what interest is for the students in the audience who haven't had to encounter this yet. Interest for subsidized loans and unsubsidized loans, interest is involved, but there's a huge difference between the two. Subsidized loans, the interest won't keep building while you are in school. And last I knew, for a handful of months after you complete your program or cease enrollment in your program, that interest won't keep adding to your bill. Unsubsidized, on the other hand, the interest will compound while you are still in school. And so I don't know about you, but if I had a choice between subsidized loans and unsubsidized loans, I would take subsidized, because that balance that you owe doesn't keep building on that loan. So generally you are offered a maximum amount of each, and you have the option as well to take out a partial amount. You do not have to take the full amount offered. Just because you're eligible for $5,000, it doesn't mean you have to take it. If you only need $1,500, take $1,500. So understanding the difference between subsidized and unsubsidized loans, and understanding that you do not have to take the full amount offered, that is key to avoiding a common pitfall that results in a lot of the bad news we hear about college debt these days, is because people take some of each, or maybe accidentally take unsubsidized when they didn't need it at all, and that balance keeps building while they're in school and not really paying for it while they're enrolled in the college program, but also because they're taking the full amount, not realizing they can say, I only need some of it. So avoid that pitfall. Keep those things in mind. All right, so for free money from Georgia. So a lot of us are familiar with Hope Scholarship and Zell Miller Scholarship. There's also a grant version of each of those. The main difference is Hope and Zell Miller Scholarship apply towards degree programs, 2- and 4-year degrees alike. The grant versions apply towards certificate and diploma programs at the technical college level. And granted, there are some degrees, there are some 2-year degrees offered at technical colleges as well. Those are still, as far as I know, Hope and Zell Miller Scholarship. Again, it's the certificates and diploma programs that tend to be grantable. Hope and Zell Miller grant applying towards them. And so in the case, that's reflected in the amounts that are chipped in towards your higher education from Georgia, as well as the requirements, the big difference between the scholarship and the grant versions of these. And so look at that, 80% of tuition roughly, 75 to 80%, versus Zell Miller being towards 100%, counting as 100% your tuition. The tendency in either pair, the scholarships or grants, Zell Miller is the higher amount towards your education, and that's reflected in the eligibility requirements as well. Let me get out of the way so you can see that. So, looking at the scholarships first, there's a HOPE GPA. We'll talk about that in a sec. HOPE GPA requirement of 3.0 for HOPE Scholarship, or 3.7 for Zell Miller. Zell Miller also has the higher bar in terms of having a testing requirement of 1,200 combined on the SAT, or a 26 composite on the ACT in the same attempt. So in other words, it's not that you have to get it in the same sitting in one attempt, the first try, but that they don't super score for you. They don't combine of multiple attempts, they don't combine your best English with your best math to give you the best combined or composite score. It's in one attempt, not the first, but in a single attempt you have this score or this score, depending on the assessment. And so you may be wondering about HOPE GPA. You can see behind my head here, and I'm out of the way now, you can see HOPE GPA involves academics only, and it's unweighted except for dual enrollment courses. So in other words, academics only, that tells me 4 core and world language go towards the calculation of this GPA, but not electives. Okay, keep that in mind. So you can't count on your electives to bail you out on your GPA calculation. You've got to have strong academics for this. And unweighted except for dual enrollment. For the weighted GPA at NMHS or in the Murray County schools in general, that honors classes, that extra rigor through dual enrollment or AP classes, that has certain bonus points added into your GPA calculation. Honors, HOPE GPA doesn't recognize honors. It does recognize dual enrollment, but not with as much of a bonus as we apply towards your weighted GPA in Murray County schools. So, but that's the nutshell of HOPE GPA and its difference between that and the more traditional cumulative GPA that we calculate here. But also, each of these scholarship categories require the rigor credits, 4 rigor credits, and that's something that Ms. Watkins talked about earlier. And they were the upper level maths, upper level sciences, Algebra 2, pre-calc or college readiness math, chemistry and physics. So that's 4 titles right there, and Spanish 2. Those are all considered rigor credits. You don't have to take the honors versions of those. Those are all rigor credits. So just by meeting graduation and college readiness requirements at North Murray, you actually earn 5 rigor credits commonly. And also chipping in towards the rigor credit count for you is if you take any academic dual enrollment courses. So most of our students don't have to worry so much about the rigor credit requirement so much as the actual HOPE GPA that they are earning. Now, for those of you who are a little iffy about, well, I didn't take freshman year very seriously, so my GPA was a wash to begin with. Guess what? You're going to be so thrilled about this. If you're looking at a HOPE, if you're looking at a certificate or diploma program, HOPE grant and Zell Miller grant don't rely on your high school GPA at all. Look at those boxes for eligibility for the grants. High school GPA not a factor. You establish eligibility by getting and maintaining a 2.0 GPA at the technical college program for Hope Grant, or a 3.5 at the technical college program for Zell Miller. And so how that works is, for that semester that you end it by earning either of these GPAs, the state will pay you back for that semester and start paying forward for the upcoming semester each semester after that, as long as you maintain eligibility and as well as complete the program in a timely manner. All right, one last category, the Hope Career Grant, and I will get out of the way so you can see this important link, tcsg.edu/free-tuition. Go ahead and write it down while I talk about it more. When I was graduating from high school, the mantra for college guidance was 4-year degree or bust. That is so not true. You can make, I ended up having to get a master's degree to do what I do for a living, but there are many other careers out there where you can make plenty of money to support your lifestyle that you see for yourself while still doing what you love. So do you have that written down yet? tcsg.edu/free-tuition. So for all those years that 4-year degree or bust was the mantra, we had a bunch of people retiring out of a lot of important skilled trades and not enough people training to replace them. And because of that, well, the state's loss is your win, because you can actually get 100% tuition coverage for these majors of high need in Georgia. And so this is in partnership between the Technical College System of Georgia and the Georgia Department of Economic and Workforce Development. So reap that benefit while it's there. Take a look at the list at this link and see if one of the career fields of interest might be on, your career fields of interest may be on there. For questions about any of this slide, go to Georgia Futures, gafutures.org, and that is actually made and managed by the state agency that administers these state financial aid programs. Now let's talk briefly about financial aid from the post-secondary school itself, from the college, from the higher education institution, whatever you want to call it. Remember I said before, finish your FAFSA. Well, here's a brief reminder there, but also when you complete your FAFSA, include your colleges of interest on your interest and release list on the FAFSA. And that helps them not only coordinate with the state and Uncle Sam to get the money for you that they have designated for you at those resources, but also if there are any scholarships or grants that are needs-based from the college that you might be eligible for, the college uses FAFSA information to figure that out. If you don't provide the FAFSA, they might not have that information for you, might not offer that free money that helps you make ends meet. But also, there are merit-based scholarships from the post-secondary college. Sometimes they will apply them automatically on your financial aid award letter, automatically just to attract high achievers to their school. So for test scores or for GPA or what have you. So this is a reason, one of the reasons to still take SAT or take the ACT, because for Zell Miller scholarship or for this, they still have a test requirement component. For college financial, for the free money from the college, merit-based free money from the college, they commonly have a testing component to them as well, or test score requirement. But in general, even if they do apply some automatically for you, they commonly also have some scholarships on their financial aid page that you would have to apply for separately, that are available to apply for separately, whether for merit-based or needs-based scholarships and grants. So check that out. There's also free money from the colleges themselves. And last but not least, independently sourced financial aid. So these are the ones that you find on your own. They're not from a government body. They're not from the college itself, but just kind of out there wherever you seek it. And so these can be, in many cases, from local civic organizations. They can be national foundations and in between. But these are the ones you have to kind of put yourself out there to find their scholarships, look at the criteria for eligibility, and apply if those eligibility criteria kind of meet your scenario, your situation. And there are literally millions of scholarship opportunities out there. And so as you look at them, read the fine print for eligibility, read the fine print for what that money can go towards. And so that way you know going in, okay, this has got to be for a automotive program because they're wanting to encourage people to go into automotive programs, things like that. Read the fine print, and also see not just what kind of programs it can go towards, but what kind of expenses it can go towards. It might be tuition only. Some scholarships and grants get that specific, and some of them are broadly worded where you can put it towards any college-related expense, and sometimes even living expenses, things like campus, dorm rent, etc. So anyway, many are not merit-based. So I like to sing this from the roof, shout it anyway. You don't want to hear me sing it. Shout it from the rooftops that there are many that are not merit-based, that do not require some stellar GPA or test score. And so for those of you who are shy about your GPA, don't shy away from scholarship opportunities. Don't shy away from seeking them out because they are out there with your name on it. There are some for those who are left-handed. There are some for those who are ginger, who have maybe certain ethnic roots, first-time college, or not first-time, first-generation college goers, people who know Klingon, people who make their prom dress out of duct tape. There's a scholarship for everything. Seek them out. You will find something, and it doesn't have to be merit-based. All right, so each one, big or little, it adds up. Don't overlook those ones that are $250. Put it in terms, if you have to. Put it in terms of, that's a semester of college books. Okay, that's half a semester of college books, college textbooks. They're expensive. Anyway, that could cover some of my college textbooks, or maybe help me buy a new bike to get around campus. Anyway, things like that. So now, when I said there's millions of scholarship opportunities, I know that may have made you a little overwhelmed, but we have something coming to your rescue. Visit our scholarship newsletter. We update it periodically as different scholarship organizations say, hey, look at this. We'd like you to feature this scholarship of ours with your senior class. Please let them know. We want to throw money at them for a good cause. And so we do that. We put those, we feature those scholarships on our scholarship newsletter. We also have links to scholarship searches where you can apply search filters, or you can even build your own profile that helps it identify and match details about you to eligibility criteria of these millions of scholarship opportunities out there. And instead of having to sift through the haystack, it might reduce that haystack to a couple hundred that you might actually be eligible for. So it makes life a little easier. Do be prepared that in order to have that free money that has your name on it, to have it unlocked as the final step, maybe you've already won it, but before they cut the check, they want proof of enrollment usually. So be prepared to provide that, and usually that's as simple as providing a copy of your fall schedule. So bringing it all together, after you're accepted to a college, their financial aid office usually puts together an offer letter for you, and it ties together the federal money. They interface with Uncle Sam. They interface, if it's a Georgia college, they interface with the state, and of course they tie together the college's own resources if there are some that are automatically applied especially, and show you the overview of that free money coming from these sources. And when they do that, you have a good bird's eye view of, well, for this upcoming academic year, do I have enough to cover the cost of attendance? And if you don't, then you have in that same swoop the opportunity to perhaps take only as much of a college loan as you need for that year to make ends meet. Or you might kind of mentally dial in, because there's 3 out of the 4 categories, remember, there's still the last one, independently sourced scholarships and grants. You might have to add those on mentally and compare that final amount to the cost of attendance. And then again, figure out, do I need to take out a partial loan or the full loan amount? Or do I need to plan on maintaining a part-time job and putting some of that money towards education expenses? So you can do that with this bird's eye view. And again, when we talked about fine print, you'll see it again here in this instance too. Some sources of college financial aid cover tuition only, some cover more broad expenses, and you have an opportunity to accept and decline, or in the case of loans, accept partial amounts for these different funding sources. And something very important for everyone, the special circumstances form. So remember how we filed the FAFSA that used 2019 tax information, right? Well, when you're looking at college in the fall of 2021 and you're looking at a financial situation from way back in 2019, a lot can change between end of 2019 and middle/fall of 2021, can't it? Even in general, just through that passage of time, households can split up. Households can join together. Someone can lose a job, gain a job. Life happens. And on top of that, in this particular time frame, COVID happened too. Some people were laid off. Some people were furloughed. And in either case, there might still be a ripple effect felt as you are entering the fall of 2021 in that household. In those cases, if you are experiencing that kind of difference from your usual financial situation of 2019, talk to your college financial aid office about the special circumstances form. You can use that to bring them up to speed on your current situation, and they can adjust, in many cases, your financial aid portfolio and maybe even secure some additional funds to meet your newer, your updated needs. So as, just kind of moving on here, as you are looking at that letter, say you've already signed it and you just took it home for personal records, keep an eye out on these considerations. Which ones are on this consideration? Which funding sources are non-renewable, one time and it's done, freshman year only? Which ones are renewable and continue for multiple academic aid years as long as you maintain eligibility? The reason I point this out is because it's another common pitfall of college financial aid. People, or seniors especially, they get in the habit of, oh, as a senior, I put in scholarship applications. I get free money for college. Okay, but don't forget, a lot of your independently sourced scholarships are one-time awards, or it's certainly not uncommon for them to be one-time awards. And so what that can do, if you stop that hustle after you graduate from high school and don't keep an eye out for more scholarships for future years, past freshman year, you're going to have all these one-time awards make the cost of attendance great out of pocket for freshman year. And then for future years, when those one-time awards are no longer included on your financial aid offer, you might get a little bit of sticker shock. So don't forget about that possibility. There are plenty of scholarships out there that do not require you to be a high school applicant. You can be someone already in college applying for many of these scholarships. And so keep that grind up. Keep hustling. Keep finding those independently sourced scholarships. So when your non-renewables don't come back for future years, you can have something to replace them and keep that cost of attendance from out-of-pocket cost of attendance from shooting up from freshman year to sophomore year. So I appreciate y'all sticking it out through this presentation. I wish it could be face-to-face, but we wanted to do something kind of a fair in-between to get this information in your hands, and so I hope this has been helpful. Certainly may have questions along the way, so I encourage you to reach out to us at any of these emails, but certainly the closer you get to your assigned counselor, the better, or Miss Miles can direct you to the right counselor if you're unsure. And also check out our resources, additional resources on the counseling page by going to the North Murray main page linked at the bottom here and clicking the counseling menu item.